Hi everybody, and welcome to the Icicle Creek Drainage in Leavenworth, Washington, right down there. That's the Stewart Range. Can you picture an alpine glacier coming down that valley and heading towards Leavenworth itself? That's our visual today, and I don't want to talk just about one advance of ice. I want to talk about multiple advances of ice based on the work of Stephen Porter, University of Washington. It's a beautiful, quiet morning up here above Leavenworth. Thanks for joining us. Let's get started. Let me flip you around. Okay, it's just me, myself, and I this morning. And we did have some winter weather this past week. First round of light snow, but it's cleared up today. My goodness. Let's look up into the Stewart Range, 93 million year old granite. And let's peer down into the Icicle Creek Drainage. And we want to visualize an alpine glacier coming out of this canyon. And an alpine glacier, the Icicle Creek Glacier, flowing right down to Leavenworth itself. I don't know, let's just walk down the road here for a second. I'm a little bummed out because even though the weather's gorgeous, the light is exactly wrong to look at this glacial moraine that I want to show you, but whatever. I'm not going to come back up here just for a late afternoon light, I don't think. So let's try the same thing from this vantage point. This is a public road. You can get up here. I'll put a GPS pin to where I am if you want to check out this beautiful moraine. But we're looking north towards Lake Wenatchee. Up over there, Plain, Washington, and so on. And then this is Leavenworth proper, if you're familiar with the area. There's town there, the Wenatchee River and rafting and that sort of thing. And we're not talking about exotic terrains, we're not talking about the Leavenworth Fault, you know, that's stuff we've talked about before in this area, but today we're completely in the Pleistocene. And on this crystal clear morning, it's about 25 degrees Fahrenheit, by the way, very refreshing. We want to think about ice coming out of this canyon. I'm up here by myself. There's usually other people screwing around at this point, but maybe it's too cold for people to be out this morning. There's not a hint of breeze, and so I just have stuff laid out on this little picnic table. Oh, I don't know. I got to give you another shot of this. This looks too good to be true. Can I really give you a nice... Look at that. Autumn in the Cascades. You gotta love it. Amen. All right. So if you got an itchy trigger figure, you're ready to get rid of this video and go on to the next one. I'm heading over there to give you some good look at some till momentarily, but I want to do a little bit of this first. And it's been, I don't know, a month or more that I've kind of given you this routine. So let's try it quickly. Well-known map of the Pacific Northwest and the ice sheet coming down from Canada. And a point that I've made a number of times over the summer, this is the most recent time. This is younger than 25,000 years ago. Not a map of earlier glaciations. And if we zoom in, we today are here. This is Blewett Pass, up and over Blewett Pass. This is a road. And then I've worked my way up and over a couple of these ridges to get to this alpine ice that's coming down over Leavenworth. This is US Highway 2, and they have the ice almost to Highway 2. In fact, the ice crossed Highway 2, but, you know, actually, it's okay. And I have plans to do a similar video looking at the Yakima Valley Glacier coming down towards Ellensburg. Okay. So you've heard it from me a number of times by now. This is the most recent snapshot, but I'm not that interested in the most recent snapshot in time, the most recent glacial, the last glacial maximum, in other words. And my main reason for that is that Brett's, on a map from 100 years ago, is showing 2 generations of ice coming out of Canada and crossing the border. And so that makes me wonder, do we have evidence of multiple glaciations in the Cascades as well? Daddy needs his hat. It's a little cold. Hang on. Thank you. Glacial erratic right there. So today we're looking, maybe for the first time, maybe the only time, I'm not sure, at the work of Stephen Porter. And this winter I will be talking about this phenomenon known as the Inqua Conference. And there are a dozen or more of these small blue books, this is an original, correlating and comparing and galvanizing all of the Pleistocene geologists in the mid-1960s. And these are field trip guides. And there is one from the Pacific Northwest. And this is the day, September 10th of 1965, where Stephen Porter is the leader. And I've been coloring things according to my little color scheme. And yeah, this is the Yakima Valley Glacier that we'll get to at some point. Right. But in addition to that Inqua volume, come on, boy. 4 years later, in 1969, Porter from the University of Washington leads a trip for the Friends of the Pleistocene, September of 1969. And he's taking people specifically to what we're looking at today. And he's also looking at the Yakima Valley Glacier, the next video that I have coming for you probably. And there's other papers by Porter that I will be featuring probably this winter, although I don't really know what I'm doing this winter. But Porter in the late 60s and the early 1970s was really into these central Washington alpine glaciers. Okay? So to tap into what we were doing a month ago, I learned a lot from Kathy Troost. Did you see that video? From the Tacoma Narrows Bridge area. And Kathy helped me learn about different advances of the ice sheet coming across the border from Canada and going into Puget Lowland. The most recent ice advance during marine isotope stage 2, the Vashon ice sheet. Possession, that was the main message of the Kathy Troost video. She had lots of glacial till from MIS 4, stage 4. And she had, this is what we looked at carefully, the glacial till from the MIS 6, stage 6 advance, the double bluff. There was even some Defiance, stage 8 till. And based on her work, mostly coming from the interglacial deposits, she has some absolute age dates, again, from the Puget Lowland. And so she has these dates corresponding to worldwide stage 2, 4, 6, and 8. These are glacial times, cold times. And then I'm ultimately trying to tease out different possibilities in eastern Washington, and even further east in the Rockies and even in the Midwest. That's not our topic today. Our topic today is looking at the Leavenworth till, the Mountain Home till, and the Peshastin till, and even possibly the Boundary Butte till of Stephen Porter and Terry Swanson, both at the University of Washington. A little glimpse at what I'm going to do in the next video from the Yakima River Valley, Ellensburg, driving up the freeway to Cle Elum, up the freeway to Easton, and eventually up I-90 all the way to Snoqualmie Pass. But this is the color scheme I'm using lately that does correspond with what I just showed you. Red, orange, blue, purple. Red, orange, blue, purple. This is the next video. I'm giving it away. 2, 4, 6, possibly 8. And in this case, with the Yakima Valley glacial deposits, the oldest is the biggest ice. The youngest is the smallest ice. So, big, old, retreat the ice. Slightly younger, didn't get as far. Slightly younger yet, didn't get as far. Youngest, didn't get as far at all. So how about today's video? Slow down. This is it. This is Porter and Swanson. They have Leavenworth. They have some ridges up above Leavenworth. Huh. We're on ridges up above Leavenworth. I guess I'm in the right place. So we'll go back to that diagram, I promise. But Porter has multiple advances of the Icicle Creek Glacier coming through this narrow canyon and coming down over Leavenworth, and his oldest ice is the thickest. His next, I always stumble with this phraseology. His oldest advance is the biggest ice, therefore the highest moraine. Then get rid of that ice. Slightly younger time, slightly smaller glacier, slightly lower moraine. Get rid of that ice. Bring in another batch of ice. It's smaller yet. The moraine is lower yet. Get rid of it. And then the fourth and youngest advance, the last glacial maximum. Wimpiest ice yet, and bring it back. So I've been up here before. I've been with Ice Age Floods Institute field trips. I've been with Carl Lilquist looking at this moraine. I don't remember us talking about what generation this moraine is. And there's another moraine up higher yet. And I don't recall us really being careful and saying, look, we've had different generations of moraine. Now that I say that out loud, I think Carl was making that point, but I didn't have any regional context for it. So I feel like I'm going to try it one more time, and then I promise we'll go over to the outcrop. You got it now? Youngest advance, slightly older advance, slightly older advance, slightly older advance. And you're like, give me some dates. Well, there we go. Those are real numbers, apparently. Maybe the most current dates that we have for these 4 most recent stages worldwide. And I'm going to look at one of the 4 glacial deposits here above Leavenworth, Washington. And now can I kind of do this side by side? Kind of. So as I just said verbally, now let me show it graphically. Red is the youngest advance of the icicle drainage, known as the Leavenworth Till, and the Leavenworth outwash, and that's lowest. And this is me in red correlating with the Yakima Valley. Just ignore that for now. And ignore those dates, by the way. This is an older sketch. But I used my colored pencils this morning. Slightly higher and older, the Mountain Home Moraine. Slightly older and higher, the Peshastin Moraine. And at the very top, close to the very top of Boundary Butte, Porter has his oldest, possibly stage 8 moraine. Boundary Butte the oldest, then Peshastin, then Mountain Home, then Leavenworth. So what is this thing that we're about to go look at? It's Mountain Home. It's orange. We're going to go into the shade and try to dig into this beautiful till, part of a moraine, and we're going to look at the stage 4 Mountain Home moraine, and we'll be looking down into the trees and try to get a hint of the Leavenworth moraine as well. Is that a plan? I can't hold it. I'm going to do it. Before we do it, I'm newly interested in orange and stage 4 glaciation, not only from my work with Kathy, but now we're about to cross this little forest road and look at some stage 4 moraine. And here's a paper that I'm just starting to get serious about. And they're talking about evidence of stage 4 floods and loose sedimentation in eastern Washington. Is this paper brand new to me? No. Mark Sweeney applied for a job at Central. Didn't get the job, but I got to know him from that. But I now have a context, I have a narrative, I have a series of quote-unquote mysteries, and I'm starting to see orange stage 4 everywhere I look. All right, let's just keep doing it with it. Again, it's perfect weather, no wind. Hopefully the mic is working. Hopefully you've seen the Brian Atwater video and the sandpoil that I just posted yesterday. That was a highlight with Jerome and Joel and Brian and Karen. Let me just take a quick peek over this gate. This is private land, but there's good light and fall colors. And so we are on the moraine from stage 4. And that's new to me. That's new to me, that rather fresh-looking erratics on this moraine were deposited in the penultimate ice, not the most recent ice. And I've been up here a little bit higher. There's the older moraine up there at the snow line. If you can see, there's a little bit of snow in the shade there, the north face of that. This is Boundary Butte. I've already forgot. Is that the Peshastin? I think that's the Peshastin stage 6 that correlates with the double bluff till that we were looking at below the Tacoma Narrows Bridge. If you look carefully at the original work done in 1939 by Ben Page, and then Porter, and then Waite, and then Swanson and Porter, they keep changing the names of these units, so it's incredibly confusing if you try to read all those papers together. And I hesitate every time I say things here because I'm half confident I'm screwing up the names, just because it used to be called Peshastin, now it's called Mountain Home, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I can't give you enough of this scenery here. I need to get to the shade. Once we look at the details of this moraine, I think we're done today. And we'll see what you think. I have no idea who put the picnic table there. I have no idea if this is private land or whatever, but every time I'm up here, there's usually some camper or some family or something just having a picnic. And so I'm particularly enjoying the fact that we've got the place to ourselves this morning. It's a Saturday morning. Bijou's home, hanging outside. It's brisk there too, but he's got fur. I'm stalling because I don't know if you're going to see anything in this Mountain Home till. But before we do that, I don't think I'm going to walk down the road a whole lot more. Maybe I am. Yeah. So we've got an exposed cut of the stage 4 moraine up above Leavenworth. It's not worth it. I'll just zoom. If you followed what I was showing you with the diagrams, can you see that there's a little stair step in the trees? In other words, it's not a general, it's not a gradual V-shaped slope going down to Leavenworth and the Icicle Creek itself. There's that clear bench in the trees. You can see that, right? That's the Leavenworth Moraine. That's the youngest. That's the younger than 25,000 year old moraine. And so the youngest ice is down at that level. But we're up a little bit higher with the penultimate ice. All right. Well, let's try it. It's a north face here, so things are a little frosty. This is kind of a sandy breakdown, and you got to be careful because this stuff oftentimes is just grus, meaning that it's just weathered, rotten granite. So these granite boulders are so coarse-grained that when they just sit there and weather, they become rounded and they crumble in place. And I hope you can see that the major erratics that are in this moraine, that's in this till, and try to give you a sense of the thickness of this till. And you're like, oh, come on, are you sure that's glacial till? Are you sure Porter is sure that's till? Why can't that just be boulders falling off the hill? Well, the point is there's packages of this very poorly sorted sediment up higher and down lower, and they have gotten some surface exposure dates on these things. And they have dug into this, more so than the people putting the road in. And it is a pile of sediment. It's not like there's a granite wall behind this stuff. Yeah, this is the place to go. That's good, right in there. I'm going to keep it wide and scramble up. Yeah, this might work, lighting-wise. A week ago, I was in a canoe with Atwater and everybody, and we were looking at those fine-grained varves and those very, delicate beds. This is kind of the opposite. Big boulder, different 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 big boulder, all moved here by the alpine ice coming down the icicle drainage. Don't wipe out, buddy. Don't wipe out. I want to get, oh no, I can just zoom. So this is a very handsome glacial deposit. And it's not controversial at all. This is what the guts of a very this is what the guts of a thick glacial moraine looks like. And it's not just this cut, of course. You can follow this thing as a topographic feature. It's a ridge. If you're waiting for it, a moraine is a ridge composed of poorly sorted loose rock. So if you're just blindfolded and led right here and said, well, what do you think this is? Maybe you would guess lahar or debris flow or something that's got this chaotic mixture of big and small things together. But the fact that you can map it out laterally and you can find a match of this moraine much fainter on the other side, but these things come in pairs. These moraines come in pairs because this ice tongue coming down this valley is going to deposit moraine on both sides, lateral moraines, and also terminal moraine down below. So this is technically the lateral moraine of the stage 4 alpine ice that came down this valley. I was going to do a bunch more scrambling around, but I don't think I need to. I think this wide shot is the best. to have you get a good look at this beautiful glacial moraine. Thank you. I love you. And goodbye from Leavenworth, Washington, USA.